You're listening to the podcast for small business owners, entrepreneurs, and founders who are tired of the client hustle. We believe sustainable business isn't about chasing new leads, it's about keeping the great clients you already have. Let's dive in. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, founder, you are in the right spot today. And I am so excited to have my friend Lois on. We had some technical difficulties with getting her scheduled because my email is being cranky, but I'm so glad that we got you here, and I'm excited to introduce you to my community and just see where our conversation goes. So introduce yourself, say who you are, where you're at in the world, and we'll just go from there.
Okay. I'm Dr. Lois Reid, and I am currently residing in Southeast Alabama. Moved here a couple of years ago and come from a bit of an eclectic background. My degree is in adult education and leadership, and I worked as a college administrator and an adjunct faculty member for about 20 years. And then thought I was going to transition into coaching and did coach training and discovered when I started to go out and set up my business that, gee, I don't know what I need to know about marketing to make this really work as many others. And this was in the early days of coaching, and they weren't teaching that at all in a coaching program. And so I needed to teach myself the skills about marketing and sales and getting a business going and everything. And in that process, I really discovered that I enjoyed that part of the business. I leaned in more to applying kind of my coaching skills and my skills related to adult learning to help other entrepreneurs with their marketing. And I did that for quite some time. And for a part of that period, I was a solopreneur. Part of that period, I was in a partnership in a digital marketing agency. And then after I moved to Alabama, I decided to go back as a solopreneur again and really reevaluated where I wanted to take my business. And I had been learning a lot about AI over the last 3 to 4 years as that's come on the scene, and decided that I felt like I could really make kind of the biggest impact with helping people with their AI systems of understanding kind of the context and the information you need to give to your AI system so that it works with you as a partner and stops giving generic outputs and defaulting to kind of the common information it has been trained on. So that's the work I do these days with clients in the form of helping them with audits to understand where they are in that whole process, and more individualized work one on one, where I actually work with people to kind of record all their unique parts of their business and their personality and what they do, those things that sometimes are hard to get out of our head and explain to other people because we've lived them so long. Get all that documented, fed into your favorite AI system or multiple systems. I'm system agnostic, so that you can use it more as a strategic part.
Yeah, that's so good. That is so good. And I personally am using Claude now. I started out as a baby AI person using ChatGPT. And I still remember it's probably 3.5 years ago now. My dad, who's in his mid 70s, so it would have been early 70s then, I sent him a message and I'm like, you're not going to believe this. And I sent him a link to chat, and he messaged me the next day and he said, I stayed up all night asking it questions. And to go from there, from just the realization of what the tiny bit of possibility it was, to then I moved to Gemini, testing like that. And then I've tested Claude, and I am in love. I love Claude. And Jack could come back and be my boyfriend too at some point. I don't know. But I love Claude. And to go from just being able to ask it specific questions, more like Google, to now having it run systems for me. So at 8:06 p.m. every night, it does certain things. And at 5 a.m., it does certain things. It's like mind blowing. So the amount of change and the amount of how AI is impacting our world has shifted so fast. And I didn't think in the last 6 months it would happen as fast as it has, but I have a feeling we're just at the tip of the iceberg. It's about to really come out and even impact us more.
It really is incredible of the advancements because when it first came into being, and I was an early adopter back in those days too, it's like you started to see some of the possibilities and how it might evolve. Because it certainly was saving time, but you'd have to pamper it an awful lot in the early days. And you received a lot of hallucination and such with it because we didn't both the model wasn't as advanced and we didn't understand nearly as much as we understand now of how we need to work with it.
Yeah.
But having seen even in the last 6 months, where you have gone from something you were using more of, let me give you this information and have you help me with this one task to now being able to give it a goal and it go out and work on its own and really accomplish what you want it to accomplish because it knows you and it knows what you want it to do.
Yeah. So I do want to talk about client retention, team retention, all that kind of stuff in just a few minutes. We'll get there. But I'm curious from one AI geek, I'm a geek, I think. And so I don't want to put that on you, but you may be. From one AI person to another, what's your favorite thing to do right now? If you had a client that came to you and said, oh my gosh, I need you to help me with this, and you'd go, yes, that's what I want to do, what would that be?
When I'm helping other people, I love helping them really see the possibilities of how AI can make a major difference in how they are approaching their work and the ways that it can free up their time frame of them doing things that used to be the old copy paste and transfer this from one system to another and everything that are just routine things that you don't enjoy doing to now I don't have to do that manually anymore and I can spend time on my thought leadership and on reading new books that give me inspiration and really taking my business to the next level. That's what I get excited about when I'm working with other people.
That's really cool.
When I'm doing it myself, it's how can I be creative? Is there an app that comes to mind that I can now go and vibe code that's going to be of help to my audience? Can I do something? I haven't played with video nearly as much as some other people. It's like, gee, can I do something that's going to be now a simple process for me to easily create a video short that's going to be of value to the audience?
Yeah, one of the guys that I talked to recently, not on the podcast, I will have him on. We were talking over coffee and he has a podcast and he says he uses Claude to pull the transcript. His process basically after the podcast, he gives Claude and chat some different information and then he lets it run and it adds the bumpers and it turns the into the shorts and it has everything done, literally scheduled onto YouTube, ready to go, just waiting for him to hit publish. And I'm like, I need some of that in my life. And so those are kinds of things that can happen. My personal favorite thing to do that what I'm using it for, I use it for a lot of different things, but because we teach people how to have client retention, how to keep their best clients longer, one of the things that a lot of people that focus on retention, if they do focus on retention, because most people don't, is that they forget that retention begins at the very first client experience. So I've created basically a SEO visibility audit where I take their website and I put it in and it shows everything that needs to be updated to help Google Business Profile connect and make everything work. I did this for one client and I need to create the graph. I've done it for several, but for this one particular client, I look at the graph of what his business was doing before instituted. And so it's going along, it's going along. And then all of a sudden it did this and it's just going up. And I'm like, that's really cool because then if they have more clients coming in, then we're going to actually be able to implement the retention on the back end, right? Because it's all tied together.
And I think when I think of retention, a piece of that is human connection, but it's also personalization. And it's how can we use AI to create some of that personalization that we can then use in our human interaction with the person. And if you run onboarding meetings of feeding the transcripts into your AI from the onboarding meeting, you gain so much information about that individual and probably some of their personal life, a lot about their business life and their goals and where they're headed. And not only can you turn that into a brief that you pull up quickly before the next time you may have a meeting with them, but you can also, if you're running any kind of course or series of workshops or anything along those lines, you can tailor what you're recommending to them based on what their individualized goals are and what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah, that's so good. So you mentioned one of my favorite things, and it's the first part of our system. It's onboarding properly. Because when you onboard properly, you gather all the data you'll ever need to know for the retention program for the rest of the time. And so what that looks like is using that information. You're just talking about taking that transcript and having the information in a form that you can use. I take it one step further and I ask them to fill out a quick form to where I ask for some specific things. And so you mentioned personalization, which is huge. And to where if I'm trying to think of an example. So one of the programs that I actually use that sends out different cards, it's not send out cards, but it's one of them. And you can actually I could send a card to everybody in my database that had their name on the front of it. That's pretty common now. And so it feels like it was personal, but it wasn't. One of the things that we do is we know that we want to celebrate our client's business anniversary because nobody does that. The only way I know that my business anniversary is happening because all my annual renewals start over because it's an annual, right? And so we want to celebrate our client's business anniversary. So I look ahead for the quarter and know whose business anniversaries are coming up, and I pick something specific for them. And then I have somebody else on my team actually make sure the order happens and that kind of thing. Because you're totally right that just sending something or doing something that's not heartfelt, that's not truly for them, people will know that very quickly.
And I think too, often for people who have membership programs, you typically know a place in your business where the membership is a natural point where people start to drop off. And there's often signals a month to 6 weeks prior to that. And if you learn what those signals are through working with your AI system, that then becomes a primary time of, gee, this would be a great time for me to outreach to somebody, check in with them about how things are going, how I can assist them more with accomplishing such and
Yeah, so
such. Their
use your
memberships.
last year's data of everybody that started, and then these are their churn dates of when they left, and then you can start to identify that. And that would have taken, if we tried to manually do that, that's why it hasn't been done. That
Right.
look that you just gave, well, no. So now we just put that data, a spreadsheet or whatever, into the AI system and say, help me understand where my churn is happening so I can implement a step before that happens. And so, yeah, that's something I hadn't thought to do. So thank you.
You're welcome.
That's a really good. It's a really good one. And so with our clients, like I know the data because I've done it for 7 years now. And so for our clients particularly, I know if I can get them to 100 days and we've done what we said we were going to do and we built trust, they're not going to leave us unless something changes in their business. But not everybody else is that cut and dry, right?
Right.
Especially if it's an online course or a membership or something like that. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's really good. Thank you, Lois. I think that was a nugget for me. I hope that was a nugget for a lot of other people that end up watching as well.
Came to mind for me because we've just started a new school membership. I am in with a couple other business partners on that as a little side venture. And so I was trying to think, and we haven't established yet what our drop off point is because we just recently launched, but it's something that you read all the statistics and there's obviously drop off points for memberships and trying to figure out where yours is and what causes it and what can I do about it. It's an important piece of the
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. And so figuring out, yeah, in school, I'm on school for my women's community too. And I have some classes or, of course, people I'm in community with there, but they give you some good data. They should be able to help you see some of that. But just the idea that you're going in with the mindset of, oh, we need to be mindful of this is more than what a lot of people are. And I don't know if you follow Alex Hormozy or not. He is co-founder, no, co-owner, not co-founder, co-owner of School. And I've been watching his stuff for a long time. And I watched a video. He was on Diary of a CEO this last week. They posted it anyway. And that video was 2 hours long. And I'm not embarrassed to say I've watched it twice
Mhm.
because it's so good from business to relationship to just is so good. But multiple times he talked about what to do that the to make your business sticky, what to keep your people coming back, and how the retention matters and the stability of a business. So much so that I took my phone and recorded me for a second and then shared the thing on hand talking. And I've got a couple of videos saying, I've been saying this for years. And now I'm hearing other people talk about it too. Yeah. So I have one just question. We talked about this just a little bit before we hit record about how do you keep the humanity? And this is what anytime I talk about AI, I want to make sure that I tie it back to, yes, use AI, but don't lose our humanity in the process. So what are your thoughts around that?
You've gotta be the person in charge orchestrating your AI system, and I read a book recently, and it was very good, and it talks about we as business owners, it takes different skills to support or outsource work to people and how you need to give them information as opposed to outsourcing work to AI because it doesn't understand like the context behind it doesn't pick
Mhm.
up on those human cues that an individual would pick up through a conversation with you. So I think we're going to have a whole period coming with leaders really needing to learn some new skills of how you talk to AI and how you manage that. But for me, it's really important to keep the human in the loop, both on the front end of giving your AI system enough context. I talk about 6 different layers of context that I like to give it. A lot of people think just in terms of their brand voice, so it communicates like them. But it needs to know your values as a business owner. It needs to know the kinds of messaging that resonate with your ideal client so that it's not talking down to them or talking over their head or that. It needs to know how you make decisions. And that's very unique for each business owner because it can't support you in doing your job if it doesn't know how you make decisions. And I also, because have dealt with chronic illness for many years, it needs to know my energy and my capacity. and how for me as a business owner, that's variable from day to day more than it might be for some other people. So I need to be able to say to my AI system, it's like, okay, I'm having a low energy day or a high pain day or whatever. And so we need to adjust kind of the work in the workflow today a little bit differently. And I've been able to train my AI in those pieces of information so that it can support me. And on the kind of the output end of that, staying very aware of the output that you are receiving from AI, because particularly when you're first starting to work with it, AI models are very appeasing. And
Oh,
I
yes.
love
I have to actually say, if you tell me this is great without pushing back at all, I'm not going to listen to you.
And so it's and that's part of what I was getting at when I said you need to train your AI system how to work with you, how much it should push back. Do you want to hear 10 options and you make the decision? Do you want it to give you three and not recommend anything? All of those components start to work for a good working relationship with your AI system, but you need to be the person that is in charge and
Yeah.
directing
I
how.
typically ask, I tell mine, I want to know the blind spots. What am I not thinking about? If I
Mhm.
do this, what are some of the outcomes that could happen that I'm not expecting? And then it just helps me really think through the process. I have a very strategic brain and I see that somebody says they want this. And so I know every little step to get them there, but it's the steps in my brain and you may not see those same steps. And so I typically have a thought and I can process it really quickly and be like, oh, this is what we do all the way through. And it's usually pretty close, but there could be a better way to do it. Right.
Yeah. And I think really looking at each kind of response that it gives you through very curious, open eyes and saying, okay, uh, does this fit? Does this not fit? Is it lacking information that it should have? Do I need to follow this up with another question so that you are not blindly accepting or defaulting of like, this is good enough type thing, that you're using it as a partner and a thinking partner makes a big difference.
Yeah. And so I was finally, after I've been in business since 2019, we made the pivot to focusing on retention and client care about 18 months ago. And I finally, by using AI, came up with my niche, who my audience is. And I've tried because I have my business, I have my women's community, which is my heart. I have where I give back, and I have a creative side where I make notepads and cards and things. And like, if somebody watches me online, they're gonna think, "Is she like schizophrenic? Is there a what is she up to today? I don't know." And so I said, I really need some help to understand if I just tell my story, I connect with people, and I show up as a true version of me, not trying to be somebody I'm not, who would I ideally be able to connect with best? And they said local female owned service businesses. And I'm like, that feels right. People in the local community, which gets me out to where I have real connections with humans, with people. They're female based, so that they're heart driven a lot more typically than the guys. Not that the guys aren't, right? But they would probably then also be interested in some of the creative things. And if they're local, I'm building out, my husband's helping me. We're almost done building on a hammock circle in our backyard so we can have women come over and hang out, right? So it fits everything. And the only rule at hammock time is there's no work allowed. We're just going to hang out as women. But I've literally been trying to figure out who I should be directing all my content to for 18 months. And because I was able to have that real conversation and I hadn't been doing this until recently. I had been typing everything, but I'm actually just talking.
Yeah.
And I just do that and it'll say, that's the clearest time you tried saying this 12 other times, but that was it. And I'm like, yeah, I felt that. And knowing who you're marketing to, if you're watching this and you're like, I serve everybody. No, you don't.
And it's amazing how much AI can help with that because we as entrepreneurs often have many eclectic interests. And one of the people I was working with has done so many things, and she was really hesitant to narrow things down because it felt like giving up something.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I
It's like
said,
they say do one thing, and I'm like, one thing is I'm me. That's
and
all.
she's like,
That's
I
my
can't.
one thing.
She's like, I can't. I don't want to. And I'm like, just tell it like all your skills, all your interests, things you love doing, and things that you hate doing and you don't want any part of, and such, and see what it gives you. And she was amazed of how it started putting things together that in her mind she had never put together before, because its skill is pattern recognition. On the back end is how the large language models operate. So it can see often better than we can some of those aspects of like, how do I
100%.
combine these things?
Yeah. And from a retention side of things, when you're pulling in the right people, guess what? They're gonna stay longer. If
Mhm.
you're force fitting something, if you're trying to put, like you're trying to say, put a square peg in a round hole or whatever it is, and it's just not meant, they're not meant to be your client, but you're like, I can serve them. I had an example. We have our favorite local restaurant here, and it's a Mexican place. The owner is amazing. We love her. And I went out the last time we were there a couple of weeks ago, she was talking about struggling with her social media. And I told her we can help with that. But I'm literally pivoting from, I literally have said, I have become a social media company and I don't want to do that. So I had to send her a message and said, look, I can help you find somebody, but it's not going to be me. I could do it and I could do it well and I could take her money and she would be happy. But that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. And when you continue to pull in the things that aren't meant to you, you're not going to have the things to hold on to that are
Not
yours.
have the same energy and passion to
Yeah.
do the work, and it's less fair to your clients and to yourself to be dissipating that energy in directions that it doesn't belong.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. It's taken me a long time to understand that. As we've been talking, what I've thought about is maybe I need to go back to her and say, hey, I know somebody else is going to be doing your social media, but this is what I could do for you around keeping people coming back because their food is amazing. And just instead of the social media was the thing she needed fixed immediately because she was tired of doing it. But there is another level, right? That what if she didn't have to do social media, but except for just a little bit and
Mhm.
had enough people coming in because of the other stuff we
The
teach.
other
So
layer that she could add on that you could really add value to.
yeah. Yeah. So it's so good. Lois, I appreciate the conversation with you today. Do you have any kind of closing thoughts or anything you'd like to share? Also, share if you're ready to share the information for your school community or the best way for people to get connected with you. And I'll make sure all those things are around the video.
Probably, yeah. In terms of retention, just explore is what I would say to people. First, think about some of the recurring tasks that you just are bogging down your time, and explore with AI of how it could help you and support you in freeing up some time that you really want to be spending with your members, with your client. That would be the first tier. And then the second tier, it's like, how can you help me personalize my relationship with my individuals so that they feel like I recognize and see them and want to support them, and keep that humanistic approach in working with them. And there's ways that AI can do that, whether it's recognizing anniversaries, whether it's sequencing things in a way that matters, whether it is pulling client briefs if you meet with them like once a month or once every quarter or whatever. So that would be some spark starting points that I would think about relating to retention. In terms of me, the easiest way to probably reach me is on LinkedIn, and it's simple. It's linkedin.com/in, and then my last first and last name, which is LOISREID. And our school community is called AI Genius Kit. We are in still a founders launch period with that. And what we do there is provide people with GPTs and skills so that a lot of things that you might be trying to do in terms of getting help writing emails or planning social content or such, we've built in a lot of that information into the tool. So it will ask you questions and then help you produce what you're looking to produce. And then,
And
as
is
I
that a
said,
free or a paid community?
it's a paid community. It's currently at $27 a month at launch price,
Yeah.
and we'd love to have people join us with that. And my other work, if that's of interest to somebody, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to just have an exploration conversation.
Remember, the fastest path to growth isn't always the next new client. It's strengthening your relationships with your current ones. And if you want to be a guest to share your tip or get personalized retention advice, check the show notes for details. Thanks for listening.